Hey everyone, welcome to TRCOA's Behind the Groove seminar tonight. Again, I am Ben Cleaver, the BRT2 teacher, and I hope everyone is doing well tonight. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome from North Carolina, JG. Hey, Cody. Hey, Michaela. Hey, Corey. How's everyone doing? Today, we're going to be talking about vocals, and we're going to talk about what we need to be paying attention to after we recorded them. So we're going to be doing some mixing, we're going to be doing editing, we're going to be doing cleanup, we're going to talk about some different types of plugins and how to get some of the effects and sounds that you're hearing today, like hearing in a lot of this genre today. So feel free to introduce yourself and ask questions in the chat as we go along. So if there's anything that you're not understanding or want me to elaborate on a little bit further, please type it in the chat, and I'll dive in and hopefully explain a little bit better for you where you can understand it. Our session tonight is going to be from a hip hop track that I did with one of my clients a little while ago, and we're going to, since that's just a big genre right now, so we'll obviously hit different stuff as we go through, but tonight we're going to be focusing on vocals that are in the hip hop genre. So we're going to take a look at our session here, and we're going to talk about bussing, plugins, compression, EQ, doing all this kind of like trying to make it a good full sounding vocal to fit into our track. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into it. So just so y'all know, on this, I didn't upload this session under the seminar because they haven't released this song yet. So that's the only reason I haven't released it yet. So y'all can just follow along, and if you have any more questions without having it in front of you, just let me know. So, all right. So we're going to go ahead and start, just so y'all can kind of see, this is kind of my setup of all the vocals that I had going on in this session. We got I was just sent a two track on this, so that's just a stereo track of the beat that they are performing over, which is that top one up here. And then you can see I have hooks, so I got a double on part of the hook, I got another double in the hook. Then when I go over to into one of the rapper's verses, we're just going to focus on the second vocalist today on that part. But you can see I got lead vocals, I got left and right doubles, and then I got ad libs on that as well. So I do have quite a few extra, all this stuff that's after the beat all has to do with stuff that I'm doing for the vocals. So just so y'all can kind of see what some of the places I'm putting stuff and how I'm setting it up. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with the hook, just give a little quick listen here, and then we're going to talk about cleanup and going in and doing mixing stuff from there. So I'm going to go ahead and dial into the hook over here just so we can get a feel for what we're listening to on this song.
My baby, can't nothing come between us, yeah.
I promise to hold it down for you, do the things you need me to. I can't imagine leaving you. I promise I want the world to see just what you mean to me. This feels just like a dream to me. I promise, as far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? I promise, baby girl, I promise.
Hey. So we can hear he's doing like a little sing chorus here for our hook for this song, and you can see how I recorded it. He's kind of doing this back and forth between his this kind of like call and response from where he's hitting the I promise part and then going into his next line.
Yeah, I promise to hold it down for you.
So that's just how how I'm setting up my tracking on this, because if I'm gonna have stuff that's overlapping, it's better to put it onto another track than try to make him rush into that so we can get the full length of everything we're trying to hear. So now what I wanna do is I wanna go in and clean up all these vocals as much as I can. Like, I don't want all this space that's in between the words. Like, we're trying to get this to be as clean as possible so that we're not hearing any noises. So the beats as clean as possible. We're not having anything that's distracting us from other than what we want the listener to hear. So I've made a group here on this hook part A. So if you do have a section in any of your songs that is more than one vocal, or just anything that's doubled, tripled, quadrupled, could be more than that, whatever you're doing. Whenever you're gonna do cuts like we're gonna do right here, it's much easier when we have a group, because I can treat both of these at the same time instead of having to cut them individually. And And we make groups with Command G. If y'all didn't know, I've just happened to already make it, but I'll just show you when you hit Command G, it opens up a window that says create group, and I can type it in and click OK, and we can see inside what I was trying to make a group for. So the first thing I want to do is now when I go up here and look at these vocals is I want to go in and get all the spots that I don't need. So
I promise.
So I'm going to zoom in. Now I'm going to pull you can even hear those little that little click right here, like this little thing. Right. I'm going to make this a little wider so we can see a little bit easier because we're looking at these two. But even that little click right there,
I promise.
That's something that we want to be paying attention to when you're in vocals because we can cut it out and make it clean, but you can hear this. So I'm going to take this and we just want to make sure we crossfade up enough where we're not going to hear any of that, any of those noises right there.
I promise.
So now we got that cut out. Now what I want to do is I want to go in between each word that like in between each phrase here so that we don't have any of the extra stuff that he's doing. Because you're going to hear he was kind of making some noises just to keep his timing when he was in there when he was doing this part.
I promise.
He was just doing it to keep himself in his groove since he knew that he's going to be doing a back and forth call response thing there. So
I promise.
So he goes into that right about here where this first little transient hit goes. So I'm going to grab and pull that up to where we get close to this next section. And so now once I've grabbed a section, we can press B on our keyboard. And if y'all remember, that's going to be our breakpoint. And that has to do with our A to Z over here. So now I'm just going to delete this section out of here. So now when I'm going through this, I'm not going to have any of those noises, and it's just going to be nice.
I promise.
And then once we go to the next section, which let me turn tab to transient off so I can jump a little quicker to these guys.
I promise.
So then the second I hear that again, now I want to get up here and cut all this stuff out so this is as clean as possible. We're going to look at some nudging here in just a minute as well. So this is something I would highly recommend doing on on almost any recording you have. If you have big blank areas where there's audio or stuff that's coming from headphones or there's other players in the room and that instrument's not playing, if you cut out that section, it's going to make everything else be cleaner unless there's some reason that you want to hear all the information that's coming from those blank sections. But in here, I know there's nothing that we're going to be using anyway that I want to bring up. I don't want to bring any of that up when I'm compressing here later when we're starting to push all these vocals way up to the front. So cleaning up all the noises and just kind of keeping it to the parts that you need, especially on vocals. We want to make sure we cut out everything because they're going to have all these mouth noises and breathing and different things they might be doing to keep themselves on track in there besides the parts that they're hitting. So
I promise.
Let me zoom in a little more on that. Let me turn my hook off, and so my hook A is over here. So if you ever want to process stuff at the same time, actually, I'll come back to that here in just a minute when we talk about nudging. Let me clean all this stuff up, though, first. So now let me hear these. Cool. Go back up to the front here. Cut that out.
I promise. Baby girl, I promise. I promise. Baby girl. I promise, baby girl.
So even right there, when I hear that, like in this other one, he doesn't have that breath. So I'm going to go in and do these small cuts and actually take the time to take all these things out because it's going to be important to our sound when we're going through this stuff. So when he's got a big breath, it's
I promise, baby girl, I promise.
And then I'm just going to turn it back on and pull this hook, this back in. Okay, so let me listen to this bottom.
I promise, baby girl, I promise.
Actually, let me listen to that one more time. Make sure I want to do that.
I promise, baby girl, I promise.
Okay, so I'm going to leave that like it is, just because I think I felt like it cut a little bit too much out when I took that one little breath out. We don't really hear it when it's blended in with the other stuff. So now that I've now that I've chopped all this up now, the next thing we always want to do with any clip you have, no matter what, awesome. Just for any of y'all that know, anytime you have a clip of audio, that's recorded, no matter what it is, drums, vocals, bass, guitar, whatever, keys, anytime you have separation where there's a front and a back, or you're attaching it, we always want to add fade ins and fade outs to the end of those, or if they're touching with each other, we want to have crossfades. One way we can do crossfades is whenever we have a group, we can either just grab right here where this little crossfade menu pulls up and we can just drag it. Or if I want to control it, do it without having to by hand, you can grab the clip, and then if I hit Command F, it'll put fades on the end to what I want them to be. So now there's not going to be any pops when I'm listening to those.
I promise.
And depending on what you want to, how
I promise.
all those feel good. So now I can just grab all these. You can grab the whole section, hit Command F. And then I usually like to do about 10 milliseconds. I think that's a good size. It's going to be small, and it's not going to, get in the way of anything. But I have crossfades on the end in the beginning of every single one of these now. So now all our audio on that front part is all clean. So then everything's there on those sections. So now I'm going to go down to hook B, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go clean up hook B now. So this is something you definitely want to do with vocals. It's going to make a huge difference.
To hold it down for you, do the things you to hold it down for you, do the things you need me to. I can't imagine leaving you.
Do the same thing. Now I'm going to go fine tune this. Cool. I'll delete that out.
Bring to me.
Same thing. I'm going to chop all this out. Pull that back just a tad. Once I get all this cleaned up, it'll be able to move pretty quick from there.
Let it be. Baby girl. Baby girl.
So we can hear, all that stuff's coming because our vocal mic's so sensitive. He has his headphones really cranked. So whenever he's not singing, some of that stuff's really coming through a lot. So I want to make sure that was good and clean. So I heard a little pop up here. Give me 1 second. Let me listen to this front up here.
To hold it down for you, do the things you.
Did y'all hear that little mouth click that happened right here in between? I'm gonna do it one more time.
Do the things you need.
And let me see which one it's on.
Do the things you.
And it's on the second one. So if y'all heard this little sound, that's something I don't want to hear. I think it's just this little blip right here, actually. That little clip right there. That. Those are things we want to get rid of and not have to hear.
To hold it down for you. To hold it down for you, do the things you need me to. I can't imagine leaving you.
And now that's much, much clearer where I don't have any noise or any clicks going on in that. Let me listen to the second one right quick, and then I'll show you what we would do.
I want the world to see just what you mean to me. This feels just like a dream to me.
Cool.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? Baby girl.
Let me zoom in. So that's all pretty good. Just wanted to see if there was any nudging I needed to do. So I'll just show y'all nudge in a super small, gotta be super tight on all these to make things be as clean as possible. That stuff really matters. So definitely on vocals, want to be going in on those small things and getting rid of them. So even on this, you see right here, where this front part's happening just a little bit in front of this. This is a section where, when we talked about when we talked about the nudge functions over those Pro Tools modes and functions up here, this is where I would switch this to minutes and seconds on the nudge, and where I can do a little small cut. I need to turn my group off because I'm just moving this bottom part on B here, where I'm going to make these transients line up just a little bit better. So now I can just press plus with the little plus here. Now they're gonna be a little bit tighter on its feel.
As far as I can see.
Just where the attack's happening. Okay. So now just when those are happening,
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for.
They're just hitting more on time at the same time. So now I'm gonna go ahead and crossfade and fade all these guys up so everything's super clean. And now we can listen to our hook right quick with everything cleaned up.
I promise to hold it down for you. Do the things you need me to. I can't imagine leaving you. I promise. I want the world to see just what you mean to me. This feels just like a dream to me. I promise. As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? I promise. Baby girl, I promise. Hey.
Cool, so now our chorus is super clean and we don't have any noises or anything. We tightened up anything that felt like it was a little off. I mean, if you want to go in and be super technical on that, we can go in and, you can nudge a bunch of different little things. Remember, nudge is the plus and minus on your number pad. Now, you can see I've already moved some of this other stuff out, but I'll just show you just for example, what I would do at this point is, let's say, normally, all these hooks are exactly the same. So if I didn't have this here, and normally I would just work with that hook and cut it out. So now once I've done all my editing, I'll grab a line, behind it. I'm grabbing the whole measure before this. And then now I can zoom out a little bit. And remember, if we option drag something, we can move it around the session and then it'll duplicate it. So now I can just easily fly my hook around. I usually just leave it open, Cody. I don't bother consolidating because it doesn't really matter at that point. I mean, you can if you want to, if you just want to have, like if you're bouncing it out as a stem at the end. But I mean, whenever you do that at the end, if you were trying to break it down to stems, you would do that. But I usually just leave it like it is, man. I don't go through and consolidate it all because it's all still there, unless that's just what you want to do. So that's just kind of a preference thing. Hopefully that answered your question. But now you can see that now that I've lined this up on the grid, this is going to line up with that first hook.
I promise to hold it down for you. Do the things you need me to. I can't imagine.
JG, we definitely he sung all these tracks. So there's nothing that's I duplicated the section over, I duplicated the whole hook, all 4 of these tracks, but all 4 of these lines are all tracked separate, are all tracked. He actually sang every single one of them. So I had him go through and I had him track, I think I've already, I don't think I have all the, yeah, because I made this one for the seminar, so I don't have all my playlists on here. But it's what I would do whenever you're doing this type of tracking and you're doing multiples. So what I would do is I would get the lead vocal here on hook A, and we'd keep hitting that until he gets everything on A exactly how he wants it to be, and then I'll make the double underneath it so that he's trying to exactly double the take that we're going to keep. So that way because we want to get these performance and how you track this is going to make a massive difference too. So don't getting the right amount of vocals in there, making sure they're super lined up, because the more that these things are tighter, the more punch it's going to get, the less separation there is from the other one, but the bigger the vocal is going to sound, the cleaner it's going to sound, and it's going to sound more in your face. So we want to so the tighter the time aligning is, the better everything's going to sound. So that's what we want to try to do. Yeah. He's a guy I've been working with for a while. So this is something we got him into, and he's real good at doing doubling now. So that's something when you're working with artists, you can, especially if it's ones you like working with, any of them, no matter you can help develop these artists while you're in the session, because as the engineer, you know what you need to have to have a successful song at the end. So you can kind of coach your vocalists and be like, hey, let's try this. I know maybe they've only recorded in their home studio and they've just done it by themselves with a mic and their little interface at home, and which maybe what all y'all are doing, but they're just doing a single track and they're not used to hitting parts and sections. So that's something you can just coach them into, and then tell them to just try to do the exact same performance as they did before. And the tighter those are, the better you're going to have, the better result you're going to have. And then your job as a mixing at the end is going to be easier because you have all the parts you need, and you're not having to try to do some like something where you're doubling it and trying to shift it, or do some type of sample movement to try to make it feel like a real double. So anytime you want it to sound big, and the moral of the story is, really actually double it and have the performer do it twice.
I promise to hold it down for you, do the things you need me to. I can't imagine leaving you.
So now we got all that stuff in there. I mean, I know I got that I heard that in that one over here. I want to go cut it out, but we're gonna focus on this second chorus here now. So now that we've talked about cleaning it up, that's the first thing you want to do every time that you. Oh, you're welcome, man. Hopefully it made it easy enough for you to understand. So now we're going to talk about, after we've cleaned up our vocals, now we want to go in and actually start processing them some. So in hip hop and rap, a big thing is, like, you hear, like, the auto-tune used as an effect is a big thing. Now, there is different sections where there's different uses of auto-tune, where you're using auto-tune to keep them in, to keep them on key a little better, or you're physically making it sound like the more T-Pain sound. In the hook right here, I'm gonna try to just use it where it's a little more transparent. So that's gonna be the first thing we're gonna go into right here. So I'm gonna start with one of these long sections. I'll show y'all how you can find the key on auto, because on this I'm gonna actually put auto-tune on these individual tracks. Let me mute these because I just want to hear this one guy. So up here, Antares is under Auto-Tune Pro. Some of you may have it from another plugin person, because UAD also does Auto-Tune as well. Now, just so you know, if I don't personally have the Auto Key, there's another plugin that lines up with Auto-Tune that's called Auto Key that you can drop right on the beat, and it allow, like, once you just start playing the beat by itself, it'll start listening, and it'll tell you what key it is here in a second. Oop, I need to go back to the front, my bad. Got to use it, man. If you use it right, though, you know, you don't just throw it on everything. So. Cool. So it's reading it in F minor. I'm going to, just the way that I have it set up, I'm going to use it in the major, which is A flat major. Just so y'all that don't, if those of you who aren't super familiar with your theory, there's a relative major and minor. There's a scale in minor and major that has the exact same notes. Like, for example, an F minor scale is the exact same scale as an A flat major scale. Now they're starting at different spots because the F minor starts on an F and the A sharp and the A flat major starts on the A flat. But tonight's not going to be a theory lesson. But just so you know, if you're ever trying to find it quickly when you're in a minor key, the relative major to the minor key is the third up from the one, and then when you're in a major key, your relative minor to the major key is the 6. So like the 6th note in your scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be your relative minor, and then in major it's 1, 2, 3. I mean, in the minor to relative major is going to be, that's the 3rd. So any of y'all that are here in school, if that's confusing to you, ask Greg in your music theory class, and he can expand on it a little more for you. So okay, now that we have our auto tune here, I'm going to start setting it up so we can tune this guy up. So this is usually always the first thing I'm going to do. I know this is A flat major, and I'm just going to listen to the long, to a long hook here. So let me go to hook 2.
Promise to hold it down for you, do the things you need.
So with him, I don't want this to sound like it's super auto-tune. I want it to still sound like his voice. So I'm gonna try and dial this in where it's about as transparent as I can get it, so it doesn't feel like or it doesn't sound like a robot's doing it on this part of the song.
To hold it down for you, do the things you need me to. I can't imagine leaving you.
So really what I'm trying to do here is I'm just trying to get him where it's just pulling all his notes, where it's almost like bumpers, like bowling. Like if he gets too far out of the lines, it just pushes him right back in.
To hold it down for you, do the things you need me to. I can't imagine leaving you.
So it's not doing too much stuff, but it's going to keep him in line. So, and just quick thing on auto-tune, like this is how fast the auto-tune's actually happening. This is like your mix knob almost. When I go to 100, there's no auto-tune.
To hold it down for you, do the things you need
Full
me
auto-tune,
to. I can't
then I can just kind of blend a little bit. And then this, the Humanize, kind of pushes up his raw vocal a little bit more up front, so you're hearing a little more like of what he's doing at the beginning.
To hold it down for you, do the things you need me to. I can't imagine leaving you. To hold it down for you, do the things you need me to. I can't imagine leaving you.
Cool, so that's not too much. Like if we listen to it off.
To hold it down, do the things you need me to. I can't imagine leaving you. Do the things you need me to. I can't imagine leaving you. Do the things you need.
It just tightens them up a little bit. So now what I'm going to do with this, since this is all kind of set and this is all the same key and it's going to do its thing, now I'm just going to copy, drag, which on this option click again, option click and drag across, and now my whole hook should be auto-tuned where he's just going to feel a little tighter with the song.
Yeah. I promise to hold it down for you. Do the things you need me to. I can't imagine leaving you. I promise. I want the world to see just what you mean to me. This feels just like a dream to me. I promise. As far as I can see,
so none.
Girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? I promise. Baby girl, I promise. Yeah. I promise.
It just really tightens them up because both of his, because also too, you got to think we have 4 different vocals going on in this chorus right here, and then this, like each one of those has a double going along with it. So Cody, I would use Melodyne on something like this is not a super, like he's singing, but it's not like, like big singing, you know what I mean? So when in that, I would use Melodyne more in like, I use Melodyne before I use auto-tune. So basically just anytime that it's actually a full like real singing thing, this is kind of like half rap, half sung. So I'm just using this just to keep him a little bit tighter without changing his performance at all. On Melodyne, it's like if I was doing like a big pop singing song or like, some of the some of the modern rock stuff they're doing now, I would use Melodyne before. Like you would use Melodyne if a person is like completely flat or the pitch you hear is just absolutely not the right note that they're hitting. Like auto-tune is not going to be meant to like not as an effect. Like right now we're just talking about auto-tune as a vocal tuner and not using it as the auto-tune effect that everyone thinks of when they hear when they say auto-tune. It's a lot lighter, like pushing than Melodyne, where you can physically move Melodyne around. So with like I would only use this when they're barely off the key. Like, but if it's something where you hear a note from a singer and you absolutely know that note is not in the right spot, then you need to Melodyne. It is what I would say to you, unless you want, because if you use auto-tune to move a vocal from one note to another and they're in the wrong note, it's like it's gonna push it to the next note, because that's how the auto-tune works, and you're gonna hear it. You're gonna hear the auto-tune do it, where Melodyne is very transparent. So hopefully that explained the difference. I would always use Melodyne to put them closer, like when the notes are wrong, and then I would use auto-tune to kind of fine tune it. Like, and I use auto-tune more in like synthy bass, like the more MIDI based kind of stuff you're hearing now, with a lot of the hip hop, with the EDM, with the pop, with a lot of this new modern rock and modern metalcore stuff that's coming out, that they're mixing tons of electronic stuff in there mixed with heavy guitars and all that kind of stuff. But if it's something where it's like a little more like traditional sounding, where it's all like, analog instruments being played and not any kind of MIDI tuning or anything, I may not want to use auto-tune because I don't want it to sound like that effect where it sounds more robotic and I just want to tune them. So that's kind of the thought process I would take into it, is that auto-tune tends to be used more on things that have more MIDI and straight material in there, where if you had all completely like instruments played and recorded with microphones and everything, I might not use auto-tune but I might also, again, it's always going to just depend on what the final result of what your client or the song is you know, what they're wanting their end result to be. So hopefully that answered all your question on that kind of stuff. So now that this part's all tuned, we're all auto-tuned up. While we're talking about auto-tune, I'm just going to show you a little quick thing, real quick, like the difference in between me using it as a vocal like bumper tightener, like tuner, just to keep it locked in place where he's not getting outside of the key, and then where I'm actually using it as an effect, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the mixing, just because we happen to be talking about auto-tune right now. So if I come over here, I'm going to go to this guy's verse right quick. We'll just kind of pick a spot here in the middle.
When they lock me up, you still with me, When they let me go, you was there.
So this is kind of how it is raw. Of course, you're welcome, Cody. I'm glad it made sense where you could understand where I was coming from on that one. So here he kind of has this in this verse. He's doing this like call and response thing on this part, so just so y'all can hear.
When they lock me up, you still with me, When they let me go,
And this is where on that second one, I'm going to use auto-tune as an effect for his vocal instead of as a tuning thing, because that was the intention when we came into this track, is that the first verse that the other vocalist did was going to be clean, and then his verse was going to be back and forth response with the auto-tune effect. So I'm going to turn Humanize and Flex Tune off. I'm actually going to turn this to classic mode, which turns the Flex Tune off, because I want this to go to, like, I'm trying to make this be very evident that it's here. It's on purpose. I'm using it as a strong effect. So
when they lock me up, you still with me, When they let me go, you was there to give me, You my everything, like Mary J. I just think about it, like every day, I'm coming home, You gon' let me stay, I'ma make you moan, in every way, You came a long
He's a
way,
little higher, so it's a
Just being honest. At the end of the day, you my Pocahontas. Let's vacate. Somewhere in the Bahamas. And from up front,
So there's that's a big difference in what the sound is going between those two parts, where I'm really pushing this to sound like you hear the auto-tune.
I can't deal with. When did it be? Came home real quick. Ain't that?
So we can hear the movements on those, where on this one, you don't really hear, like you can hear like the vocal literally being pushed and sliding into the next note. That's what auto-tune's gonna do, where, let me turn the solo back off. Where these,
I promise, hold it down for you, do the things you need me to, I can't imagine leaving you.
Where you're not really hearing the effect be super crazy on these, because of how I dialed in the Flex Tune and the Humanize, where it's not taking over the role, where in the second part, it's absolutely taking over the role and the effect that I'm doing. So now that we've talked about auto-tune and that kind of stuff, we're gonna start talking about how my approach to how I process these vocals moving from here. So on these, like, especially on this stuff, whenever I have like a double that's like where he's doing an exact double of what he's doing right here, I put the auto-tune on this because I just wanted the individual tracks to be auto-tuned, but I'm going to process both of these, since they're playing at the same time, doing the same thing, I'm going to process them at the same time on this bus up here. So that's what we're going to do, usually too, and then we'll start mixing in some of our effects and stuff. So out the gate, we got our auto-tune on. Now the next thing, we just kind of want to start with some of our cleanup stuff going on here. I'm actually going to start with the other part, because he says a lot more lines right there, and it's easier for me to just loop it over and over again. So I want to find a section where I have the bass coming in, which is right here. So I have all the low end in there as well with his vocal, and we have his, and where it's just going to be looping his section over and over again. I'm going to mute one of these just so I'm hearing one of these vocals, so I can just focus on, actually never mind, I'm overthinking that here. I'm processing these on a bus, so I don't need to do that. So here we go.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I
Okay, let me turn my loop on, which if we remember from our seminar last week, you can either right click on this and click loop mode, or if you just hit 4 on your number pad, it will give us loop play up here. So that's what we're going to do, is make sure this is loop play, so this section just plays over and over again while I'm doing some processing on this. So what I'm going to do here at the CQ is just do a little bit of cleanup, get the low end out of the way, and check and see if there's any other bad areas, like any other muddiness that I want to get rid of.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl.
And on this stuff, this is one where I'd actually, where I'm okay with, like we can go in and actually solo on, like when you're cutting. I want you to boost in context, but when you're solo, like you can solo to cut to try to find if there's anything you're not wanting to hear.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the
like, see, like that's just kind of like boo, boo, boo. Like I don't really.
one for me, baby.
So I'm gonna clean that up just a tad.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we
like
just
even that small little thing, like if you listen to kind of like the low mids area, like it's gonna clean up. And this is hip hop stuff, so we got tons of low end. We got like there is tons of stuff in the low end, so we don't need to be adding any extra frequencies on any channel in that area other than what we want them to hear. So just listen to the solo vocal, then we'll listen to it in context. So this is with no EQ.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be?
And then back on.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be?
So there's, like that's just, I'm just doing a little bit of light treatment in there to just get some of that mud and just get the low end out of the way on that. So now when I listen back in a little bit on reference there.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be?
I mean, and a lot of this stuff's gonna be really subtle because we're gonna be doing this in stages kind of as we go up. So now that I've cleaned out now that I've cleaned up the low end, I'm going to go in and I'm gonna open the virtual mix rack because this is a place where I can do a bunch of processing all at one time. For those of you who don't use Slate or don't have like a big channel strip like this, I mean, these are going to be things like you can still take the like all the tips that I'm kind of that I'm giving you here, and you can use stock compressors, stock EQs that are in whatever your DAW is, if it's Logic, Pro Tools, whatever you're using. And then you don't like, I'm just doing this because now I'm going to put a bunch of stuff in here and it's only going to take up one insert slot in Pro Tools. So if I ever had to do a bunch of stuff, then I can. So the next thing I usually do whenever I am doing vocals is now I want to start thickening them up and start getting them up front. So one of the first things I like to do, and I usually do this for almost any track in any of my any of my recording, in any of my mixes, is usually get one of these like the virtual channels. So we have different console emulations that this is running through, just like we'd be running it through that. So we're going to listen to a few of these, like just so y'all know, this is what these stand for. This is a SSL 4KE and SSL 4KG. This is modeled after the API. This is modeled after the Neve. This is modeled after a Trident, and then this is their like tube setting, which makes it very tubey and kind of tubby, which I'm not going to go for in this type of thing because we're going for a modern, like punchy sound with these with these hip hop vocals. So.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be?
Like even if we go in, and I'm just going to just so y'all can hear so y'all can hear a little bit of what the changes that this is doing.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see,
that's a little bit brighter
girl,
than those other
you
ones.
the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be?
Like, I mean, all these things are really, really subtle. The Neve to me is giving it a little bit more saturation, but I also like the API on how clean it is.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be?
But I'm going to use the Neve in this case because I like how I like the sound of the saturation that it's doing. Also on this, notice like be careful of your needle whenever you're using these virtual channels. We don't want to be clipping. You'll see whenever this thing starts clipping down here. So usually I'm trying to just control it where I'm not just in the red the whole time. I want to be up close to it without really distorting it.
Girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? And
then down here you got a bunch of, this is just the thickness of the vocals at.
Let it be. As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me.
So now I got that kind of processing going on in there. So usually, so now after I got a little bit of set, like now I got a little bit of, you know, analog going into this as well, even though we track this way. This is just going to warm it up a little bit more, thicken it up a little bit, which is what we're going to need to do to have it cut through all the stuff we got going on. So now next thing I'm going to do is we're going to go in and do some EQing on this bus. So
as far as I can see,
so again, I'm going to go ahead and cut the low end out of this.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby.
And hip hop stuff's getting a lot brighter these days, so
as far as I can see, girl, you the one.
So I'm just kind of putting a high shelf up here right now.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just
I mean, the low end from the guy, the producer that made this, he has it hidden pretty good. So we got to make sure this stuff gets out in front of over that. But yes, is the EQ to hype on the bus? Yeah, I mean, this is like, you're going to see, like, I already have a cut EQ in front of it. I mean, I'm probably going to do another cut here in just a second too, off of this SSL. I'm doing this in front of just to get more control of what I have before I hit my next compressor that's going to go through here. So anything that's a boost, you can call that a hype if you want, and anything that's a cut, you can call that, you know, that's totally fine too. But one of the other things I usually try to do is go see in this kind of low mid area and see if there's anything else I need to get out of the way. But yes, all this stuff is on. Yes, everything that I'm doing right now, Corey, is on the bus. I think now I understand what you're asking. Like, because I'm treating these two right here, if you look, like I'm sending this hook B double, they're both going to hook 2 bus, which is right here. So basically what I'm doing is instead of just, you know, instead of processing these individually on each track, I'm treating them, which I recorded them as a double, and that's how they're going to be in the song. So I don't have to process them both at this, like I want them to be heard together, so I'm going to go ahead and bust this together and process them together in this bus, and it's going to make them feel more glued together. And it's just kind of redundant for me to do this same thing and then just duplicate it across. And then and at this point where I have 4 of these things, like, I mean, I'm going to, like, I want to kind of group all these, like I want to kind of keep kind of busting these a little bit together to where we're kind of lowering our, so it just keeps getting glued, and there's a little more processing happening at each step where it's not all happening at once, and it's going to make it sound much smoother. So hopefully that answered the question that you were asking about, or if I went farther than that. But yes, it's on the bus. So now here I kind of looked at my high and my lows.
Girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see,
and I lost a little bit. I want to push a little.
Baby, can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be?
So it just kind of brought his vocals up a little bit more from where I was at. So this is no EQ.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be?
So we can hear, like, just me doing these little EQ things. I'm not doing any massive pushes or anything crazy right here, but it ought to, like, just throwing that EQ already on there has already pushed my vocal more up front, like, cause just I'll do it one more time.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby.
And now in context, that's gonna stand out a lot more on top of
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be?
Cool, so I got a little EQ action going on before this now. So usually next after there, this is where I'll usually hit my compressor. Now, this is, once you get to the compressor part here, this is the part where your ears and your preference, and depending on what tools you have, that's up to you. Now, if you have Slate, you can see we got a bunch of different compressors right here. I mean, I use stuff from like all these different companies. I mean, I use Waves, I use Slate, I use UAD, I use FabFilter. So I have different compressors from all over different stuff, whether it's LA2As or LA3As or LA2s, or we have 1176 types here. We got VCAs, we got distressors. You know, there's just lots of different compressors that we can use in different sections. Today, I'm going to use this vintage 1176, which I'm choosing this because it's just a little bit, like, since it's like the vintage model is a little bit smoother. Like, this is going to be the most aggressive of these. The regular 1176 is nice and fat and full, and the vintage is just a little bit smoother. Like, if this was since this is kind of more of like, you know, him, like everything on this is kind of like singing to a girl on this, like, it's not like hard hitting as some of the other stuff. If I was just trying to do like a straight super heavy trap thing, I would probably pick a different compressor. But on this, since he's singing and it's kind of a smooth song, I'm choosing the vintage because I want to keep it. I want to keep it pretty smooth because of just the style and what the sound of the song is. So always take that kind of stuff into context as well whenever you're thinking about when you're choosing your compressor. Like, and if you don't know, you know, go in and don't be afraid when you're at home to go in and make a. Because something that you can do really fast, just if you didn't know, on plugins like this, almost every plugin you have has an A to B section up here. And if I hit this little arrow right here, it just copies A to B. So I could actually just take this out, and let's say I wanted to test it against, you know, the original 1176. We can put the same settings, and now I can just switch between A and B and listen to my compressor choices. So the best thing, like, when you're like, I do this all the time. Like, this isn't something that's just like whenever I'm doing mixing. I mean, you shoot out a couple of different compressors, or you shoot out a couple of different reverbs, and that's just kind of part of your thing because you listen to how it sits in the song and what it's doing to the source, and then that's how I'm choosing. Now, do I have an educated reason why I'm picking the compressor at the beginning? Yes, but I'm still switching them back and forth and turning them off and on to decide which one I think feels the best for the song that I'm doing. So I just want you to know y'all can do that with any of your kind of stuff. I know we kind of got a tight window, so I want to continue on with at least finishing up this rack before we close tonight. So let me start dialing in this compressor some on this guy.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we
hit it a
just
little
let
harder.
it?
Just to realize all you don't know, your ratio over here, as we go up in number, the harder our compressor starts working. As correct, JG. Always choosing the right tool for the job is definitely part of the name of the game too. So.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be?
Now I'm just going to go in solo for just a second because I just want to make sure I'm level matching. That's something I'm like you should be doing whenever you're mixing. Like, try to, because if you put a compressor on to a source, and then you crank it up and get everything going, and then it's just louder because you have the compressor on, you're not really hearing what the compressor is doing. So we want to get that where the level match is sitting exactly where it was before I had the compressor, and then hear what it's doing. Now, it should, there's two things compressors will do. They're there to level out our actual, like, they're there to level out a take. Let me scroll over here for just a second, like where we can take a hit that's big or a small and it levels it out more, and a compressor also is used to help push a source more up front of the mix. So that's a lot of times, like, you're using the compressor to actually push the source out more out front without it actually raising volume, and that's part of what you're trying to do with and that's part of why you might choose a compressor to use it on the track or the source that you're using. That was weird. Get back on my slot because I moved my stuff around while I was showing y'all that.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see.
On this one, I'm kind of, I'm not pushing the attack as hard.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see.
I'm being a little lighter on his attack because I just felt like I felt like I could hear the compressor when I try to go too fast. Always, yeah, you definitely don't want to lose your transients. That's why I'm really slow over here, just so y'all that don't know on 1176s. 1 is your slowest, and then 7 is your fastest. So I'm usually doing a kind of I'm not trying to slam down on these.
Girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be?
So now I'm.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be?
And I like Circuit 2. It feels like it's pushing his vocals just a little bit. It feels like it's pushing his mids and his highs a little bit more up front.
Girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl.
Cool. So now that I got that feeling pretty decent in there with my EQ and compressor, again, if I feel like I need something else to make this stick out a little more, I may go on here and throw a little, I might throw another little high end in here after it. I mean, I'm gonna make a pretty big chain right here just to show that I can push all these things. Like if I wanted a little more upfrontness.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see,
I'm just gonna thicken it up a little bit.
Girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it?
In Revival here, this is a harmonic exciter for those of y'all who don't know, which a lot of times this is something you want to throw into towards the end of a vocal, because these exciters really lift the energy of the vocal, gets the high end, makes them feel thicker, makes them feel bigger. So that's what this is like. I mean, and you can see I'm not pushing this very hard. This is something you want to be careful with. If you start pushing like these thickness or this shimmer part on this high part really high, you're gonna start hearing like some hiss and maybe some almost like white noise because it's pushing stuff so hard. So just kind of be careful about that.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you.
So now that I've gone through and I have this all sitting in sitting where I want it to be, the next thing I'm going to do, and I always do with vocals too, like that you always kind of want to think about, is that we want to hit a de-esser. There is a built-in one in Pro Tools as well if you want to use that. I really do like the Iosis one from Slate. I think it's awesome. I use it, all the time. It's very easy to use. You do have some built-in vocals here. This is our main vocal, so we're just gonna pick a solo vocal for this, and I'm just gonna listen to the section.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it?
On that first part, you can see like we're seeing the ducts that are going on in here. Just for those of y'all who don't know, these actual yellow parts that I'm looking at on the screen, this is the S sounds, like all the that we're hearing, and I'm going to show you that in just 1 second what I'm listening to. But I pulled the amount back a little bit because I felt like I could hear every time that it's dipping on those S's, so it's just a little too strong on the dip.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me.
And another thing you can do if you want to hear what it's actually removing, if I go in and I solo this stuff, now I listen to syllabus, now I'm just listening to the S sounds and what it's taking out, which is a lot of times I want to hear what I'm getting.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we?
And then the next thing I want to do is, because you do have an EQ curve up here where they're pushing the high end because they know they're cutting some stuff. So every time after my de-esser, what I always want to do is I want to bypass this back and forth just to make sure it's not physically changing my tone from where my vocal tone from where I had it set.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be?
And as you can see, you can actually draw extra lines in here.
Just let it be. As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be?
So now I'm getting rid of those kind of distracting S sounds going on in there.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? As far as
now that I have this stuff all good, now I'm going to copy it over to this section. Now I'm just going to make sure my compressors are hitting where I want to on the I Promise part.
Promise to hold it down for you. Do the things you need me to. I promise.
Cool. So those are all sitting in fairly nice places right there. So now that I got...
Promise to hold it down for you.
Let me pull those up a little bit. I need to give it a little more volume punch in there.
Promise to hold it down for you. Do the things you need me to. I can't imagine leaving you. I promise.
Now, the next things I want to do from here is I want to start bringing in my. I know, man. I know that's the world we live in though with mixing, right? You do all this and then they go listen on earbuds instead of a big system. So, but just so y'all can hear, here's the big difference in what just. There's a lot more processing I want to do for all this stuff, but I just want y'all to. That I normally do. I just want y'all to hear from where we started and where we're at now, so.
I want the world to see just what you mean to me. This feels just like a dream to me. I want the world to see just what you mean to me. This feels just like a dream to me.
So now our vocals are really up front in our song, which is what we want to happen.
Feels just like a dream to me. I promise. As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be?
Awesome, Earl. I'm glad it sounds good over at your place.
Baby girl, I promise.
And so another thing, I'm going in, anytime I'm seeing these fine-tuned things right here, this is probably a section where I would go in and pan these guys out some, because I just want to make this section feel wider when I have both on. And I don't want to go all the way to 100 because I don't want it to feel super wide, all the way wide, but we're going to get it pretty decently wide. So I'm just going to do 75 just to listen at first. Again, this is something that I'll mess around with the width whenever I'm doing different vocals, because now we want to we want to think about where we're putting these things in the spectrum. So
as far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby. Can we just let it be? I promise. Baby girl, I promise.
And then at that point, I might even go in and automate those vocals down just a tad. Whenever I'm going into vocals, I'm paying really close attention to all these little super small things that are going on. So if I was doing that, it's I may go in and do the same little volume chop on these two. Now I can turn my group on. I'll probably turn them down just a little bit. I guess I could have done it on the bus, but I was already doing it on these tracks, so it is okay. You should see my volume. Cool. Actually, I don't want to do the volume on this one. That is my mistake. I'm going to get rid of those right there. I'm going to do the volume on my bus because I don't want it, because changing the volume of the And I don't want to, if I change the volume of what I'm doing on these tracks right here, on the ones that are feeding into my bus, that's changing how hard it's hitting my processing. So I'm actually gonna do this on the actual hook bus right here and just drop it a couple of dB just to make them not stand out quite as much on the outside here. So it's just not as much in my face.
Promise, baby girl, I promise.
So now it's sitting much nicer in the song. So this is something, I know we're here, we're at the last minute of the track here, of this segment here. So we will talk more about vocal stuff on this as from going from in using parallel sends, and because like and using effects, there's a lot more stuff that I would do. Like this is just the starting process of me cleaning up, getting vocals tuned, and then getting my main bus chain on these. So I'm just gonna give y'all one more listen so you can hear the main difference of where we started and where we came from, and then we will go to close. So one more time.
As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby, can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby, can we just let it be? As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby, can we just let it be?
So now we're getting in and having all this kind of like all this good stuff going on, and now like once I kind of got into this more, once we start bringing some other stuff in, just to hear a little bit of effects, what would kind of happen,
Bring to me, I promise. As far as I can see, girl, you the one for me, baby, can we just let it be? I promise, baby girl, I promise.
Cool guys, so that is vocal production on how I start my vocals and how like the chain of how I go about when I'm doing hip hop vocals. I mean, the beginning stage that I'm doing right there, the cleanup and then tuning it and making sure I have all my crossfades and all those things is, that's going to be standard how you're going to treat all the vocals. So no matter on genre, now there is different effects you'll use in different genres, but that's how I approach that. So thanks everybody for watching. If you're enrolled, please go to the seminars tab on the my.trcoa website and take the quiz over tonight's lesson. If you need to book one-on-one time with me to answer questions or go over a lesson, please send me an email or a text and we can schedule a time with you. And if you aren't enrolled, you can go to trcoa.edu to find out more information. Also, please post in the chat subjects you guys would like to see for upcoming live streams. And as always, subscribe to our channel, and we will see you all next time. Y'all have a great night, and we will see you then. Later.